announcements make it clear mail-in ballots will be altered on the first day of counting, as shown in data graphs we provide, and it's concluded by data analysts. Over 400,000 mail-in ballots were altered, switched from President Trump to Vice President Biden, or completely erased from President Trump's totals. The proof is in the counting curves, the curves that cannot occur except with odds so rare and unlikely that winning the Mega Millions lottery is more probable. Mr. Speaker, can I have order in the chamber?
The House will be in order. The House will be in order. Okay. The House will be in order. House will be in order. Members will take their seats. The House will be in order. Okay.
We can get order there too.
Okay. We can get order. We can resume. Without objection, the chair declares the House in recess pursuant to Clause 12B of Rule 1.
So as you can see outside the White House, protesters have obviously gathered after the speech given earlier by President Trump, asking people that showed up to peacefully walk to the White House. Well, this is what you have. Protesters have stormed the White House, and they have different representatives in lockdown. There's also reports of one female that has been transported to hospital with a gunshot wound. There's been video of her getting chest compressions as they took her away out of the White House.
The U.S. Capitol building is in lockdown right now. Supporters of President Trump have converged on Washington to try to overturn the election results from last November. Security barricades have apparently been breached outside the Capitol building. Police, we are told, have fired some tear gas at protesters, and the doors of the Senate chamber have been closed and locked. It was inside the Senate where they were going to ratify that election result. And the Vice President, Mike Pence, who presides over the Senate, has apparently been escorted to a secure location. Other senators and congressmen and women are apparently sheltering in their offices. The protesters are trying to stop Congress from formally approving President-elect Joe Biden's victory back in November's election. And in the last few minutes, President Trump has tweeted that they should stay peaceful. Of course, the president did address elements of that crowd earlier at a rally before they, some of them anyway, went up the steps of the Capitol building, and the president apparently went back to the White House, but has tweeted that any protest should stay peaceful. Let's get the latest. Let's get you up to speed from the scene. Sky's Washington correspondent Greg Milam is there. And Greg, what I want you to do first of all is just give us the sequence of events, both inside the Capitol building and what has happened with those crowds there, how they got there, why they're there.
Yeah, and you can see those crowds still on the steps of the U.S. Capitol, pretty unprecedented. I've got to say, for those who've watched what goes on in Washington over many years, I think this is quite astonishing what we're seeing inside and outside of the Capitol. But yeah, it all started earlier with many of these people who were down at a rally down near the White House, the other end of the National Mall. Donald Trump there giving a speech again, repeating his claims that the election had been stolen from him, laying out in an hour-long speech what he said was the evidence, much of which we've heard before and has been dismissed by the courts, of course. But giving that speech and again encouraging those protesters to continue with their protests. Now, when he finished, and in fact during that speech he said he would be with them on this, they began this march, as was always planned, up to the Capitol building, the building you're seeing there. They began that march, and by the time they got here, these first flashes of violence, it appears many of those protesters were intent on getting inside the Capitol building, because inside of there was this joint session of the House of Representatives and the Senate, the two chambers, which was convened to formally certify the result of November's presidential election. And this tension that existed for the Vice President, Mike Pence, and throughout Donald Trump's speech, he continued to put pressure on Mike Pence to do something in that certification process to overturn the election. Now, according to the
sorry, not just an inconvenience, but I'm sorry for the reason I've delayed coming out to speak to you. I initially was going to talk about the economy, but all of you have been watching what I've been watching. At this hour, our democracy is under an unprecedented assault, unlike anything we've seen in modern times. An assault on the citadel of liberty, the Capitol itself. An assault on the people's representatives and the Capitol Hill police, sworn to protect them, and the public servants who work at the heart of our republic. An assault on the rule of law like few times we've ever seen it. An assault on the most sacred of American undertakings, the doing of the people's business. Let me be very clear. The scenes of chaos at the Capitol do not reflect a true America. Do not represent
better agency in the
country. What we're seeing are a small number of extremists dedicated to lawlessness. This is not dissent. It's disorder. It's chaos. It borders on sedition. And it must end now. I call on this mob to pull back and allow the work of democracy to go forward. You've heard me say before in different contexts, the words of a president matter, no matter how good or bad that president is. At their best, the words of a president can inspire. At their worst, they can incite. And therefore, I call on President Trump to go on national television now to fulfill his oath and defend the Constitution and demand an end to this siege.
Gentleman from Maryland, seek.
To storm the Capitol, to smash windows, to occupy offices, the floor of the United States Senate, rummaging through desks, on the Capitol, on the House of Representatives, threatening the safety of duly elected officials. It's not protest, it's insurrection. The world's watching. Like so many other Americans, I am genuinely shocked and saddened that our nation, so long the beacon of light and hope for democracy, has come to such a dark moment. Through war and strife, America's endured much. And we will endure here, and we will prevail again, and will prevail now. The work of the moment and the work of the next 4 years must be the restoration of democracy, of decency, honor, respect, the rule of law, just plain, simple decency. The renewal of the politics. It's about solving problems, looking out for one another, not stoking the flames of hate and chaos. As I said, America is about honor, decency, respect, tolerance. That's who we are. That's who we've always been. The certification of the Electoral College vote is supposed to be a sacred ritual, which we affirm. The purpose is to affirm the majesty of American democracy. But today's reminder, a painful one, that democracy is fragile, and to preserve it requires people of goodwill, leaders with the courage to stand up, who are devoted not to the pursuit of power, or the personal interest pursuits of their own selfish interest at any cost, but of the common good. Think what our children watching television is thinking. Think what the rest of the world is looking at. For nearly 2.5 centuries, we, the people, in search of a more perfect union, have kept our eyes on that common good. America is so much better than what we've seen today. Watching the scenes from the Capitol, I was reminded, as I prepared other speeches in the past, I was reminded of the words of Abraham Lincoln in his annual message to Congress, whose work has today been interrupted by chaos. Here's what Lincoln said. He said, "We shall nobly save or merely lose the last best hope on earth." Went on to say, "The way is plain, peaceful, generous, just. A way which, if followed, the world will forever applaud and God must forever bless." The way is plain here, too. That's who we are. It's the way of democracy, of respect, of decency, of honor, and commitment as patriots to this nation. Notwithstanding what I saw today and we're seeing today, I remain optimistic about the incredible opportunities. There has never been anything we can't do when we do it together. And this god-awful display today is bringing home to every Republican and Democrat and Independent in the nation that we must step up This is the United States of America. There's never, ever, 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 ever been a thing we've tried to do that we've done it together. We've not been able to do it. So, President Trump, step up. May God bless America. May God protect our troops and all those folks at the Capitol who are trying to preserve order. Thank you, and I'm sorry to have kept you waiting.
Cheryl Casoni, what did he say?
Yeah, the vice president just tweeting literally in the last 3 minutes saying the violence and destruction taking place at the U.S. Capitol, anyone involved must respect law enforcement officers and immediately leave the building. And as we've
So where were you exactly when the people came into the Capitol building and then came into the Senate and the House chambers?
Well, I can't say exactly where I was relative to when they entered, but what I can tell you is around just after 1 o'clock, I went to the Longworth cafeteria to get something to eat for lunch. And as I was returning to my office in Cannon, Capitol Police informed me that they were evacuating Cannon and that I would have to go to somewhere in Longworth, which is the middle House office building that's situated in between Cannon and Rayburn, or I'd have to go to Rayburn. So to the east, furthest to the east is Cannon office building, where my office is situated. We were all staff and members were being told to leave the Cannon office building, and I left initially. We thought that we were under the wrong impression that we were being allowed to go back to our offices, and we were. And then within a short period of time, Capitol Police began to evacuate Cannon again. And so I'm in a place I really don't want to disclose exactly where I am, but I am in one of the office buildings that's not Cannon, and I've been informing everybody that I'm safe and secure.
Have you had a chance to speak with possibly some of the men and women who were actually in the chamber?
I have not been able to do that. I have spoken to a few members. Some members were actually at home in their apartments. Some members, I have a feeling many members are stuck in their offices, and I would say the members that usually have their offices in Canada are not in those offices. They're the vast majority of the House members were not on the floor of the House.
Right.
We were, I got to the office complex expecting that we could have crowds that would impede our mobility outside of the tunnel complex. So I was expecting to stay inside the complex of offices here, the three office buildings that connect to the Capitol by tunnels.
We spoke with California Representative Jimmy Gomez earlier today, too. He was in that room and experienced, sort of got caught up in it all. But one point he made was that no matter what happened today and how tragic and scary this has been for so many people, and not only that experienced it, but for Americans in general, that this will not deter him or others, Republican and Democrat, from moving forward in